Can you hear me? Ah, yes. Hello, thank you so much for coming. It's wonderful to see so many people here today. My name is Archibald Schumpeter. I'm with Global Security Response. We're a global defense and security think tank working with some of the biggest players in the industries of defense and security today. I'm really excited today to be talking with you about ways that nations that suffer terrorist attacks can respond to terrorism in forceful but intelligent ways from within the defense and security paradigm. Unfortunately, responses that we've seen so far have not been very intelligent. In fact, it's been pretty much stupid all the time. Let's start with the mainstay of the defense paradigm, which is, of course, military force. There have been a whole string of military responses to the terrorism of 9/11, from Iraq to Afghanistan. Sadly, these attacks have not only not reduced terrorism, they've actually increased terrorism and generated entire new terrorist entities, like ISIS, which now undertakes its own international operations, such as the recent ones in Paris. In response to these attacks, France is following in the US's footsteps by attacking and bombing Syria, which France seems to perceive as the stronghold of ISIS. This tactic is politically fairly successful. Hollande's popularity has risen quite a bit after the attack, and it's also financially successful. But as far as terrorism is concerned, France's attacks are like fighting fire with gasoline. It's guaranteed to generate more terrorists, just as the US attacks on Iraq have. For war to work against terrorists, you would have to kill everyone in the country. And as we know, that's just not possible. Okay, he didn't really say that. Another problem that military action generates, besides terrorists, is refugees. These migrations, such as the ones we're now seeing from Syria, can create tensions of an emotional sort. A German member of the European Parliament even recently suggested that we shoot entering refugees. This sort of reaction, of course, if followed to its logical conclusion, would create a lot of instability. A final problem with military responses to terrorism is that soldiers die, which eventually causes public outrage, making it unsustainable in the long run. That problem, at least, is solved by drone warfare. Since soldiers are located where they cannot be harmed, drone operations carry low political risks and can easily be undertaken by democratic governments. The profit margins, furthermore, are even better than with traditional warfare. But drone operations have problems of their own. For one thing, many of the video gamers that have been recruited by the military to fly drones are horrified when they discover what they're actually doing. A number of them have actually lost their minds or otherwise refused to do their jobs. And just like conventional operations, drone operations have been shown to create more terrorists than they kill. A third solution is, which has even lower impact on soldiers, is targeted assassinations. But as we've learned again and again, this doesn't work either. It didn't work for Belgium in regards to the Congo, and it didn't work with Al-Qaeda. Osama's assassination was great for Obama's popularity, but did nothing to address terrorism. An entirely different kind of approach to dealing with terrorism is defensively, on the home front. Here we have two techniques, surveilling and policing. Unfortunately, these don't work either. Mass surveillance, sophisticated as it is actually completely useless at identifying terrorist suspects, simply because there are few actual terrorists and potentially many false positives. You have the needle in a haystack problem. Even if you could identify suspects, you couldn't possibly follow them all, since it takes 10 to 20 police officers to perform full-time surveillance on a single suspect. That's far beyond the capacities of even a very wealthy country. Surveillance does work in one way, and that's culturally and psychologically. Like in the old East Germany, surveilled citizens stop speaking out against the government because they think the government is listening. Unfortunately, however, this does not work against terrorists, who aren't as easily frightened as nonviolent activist citizens and are better at masking their ultimate intentions. In sum, collapsed. It's worthless. There's simply no imaginable answer within the current paradigm to the terrorist threat that we know of. What we need is a brand new way of thinking, one that may be even inspired as far afield as NASA in their quest to do the impossible and land on Mars. Why not? I'm about to show you a prototype. It's just a prototype. It's a dummy that my company has developed for a technology that would be guaranteed to work against terrorism. Because although there is no way to halt a motivated and energetic opponent, there are other ways to confound them. What we need to do is be stronger than our opponents in time. And that's what the Injurosphere is all about. Could the prototypes please enter the room? At its most obvious level, this device is these are prototypes, of course, and at the most obvious level, the Injurosphere is a defensive orb with numerous redundant systems that ensure the comfort and thriving of the occupant. Within, it's a sort of ecosystem, a gated eco-commune for one, in which all materials and effluent are processed for reuse in the occupant's Injurosphere or for trade and exchange with other Injurospheres. It has Generation 5 padding and a plastic alloy skin that allows the occupant to withstand any impact. Even the crumbling of an entire building would mean nothing to a citizen ensconced within. In this way, the Injurosphere can be a lethal demoralization tool that even in the short term will interrupt and confound organizations that are with sophisticated terrorist aims. For the longer term, the Injurosphere will give citizens the time and ease to devise truly paradigm-breaking new ways of coping with an increasingly dangerous world. The price tag for each Injurosphere will initially be quite high, as you might imagine, only available to high net worth individuals. But as the Injurosphere proves itself in the field, it will attract large government subsidies that will make it much cheaper, just as drones have. Entrepreneurs will then find even cheaper ways of producing them, making the Injurosphere a truly democratic solution to terrorism. So I'd like now to take any questions there might be about the Injurosphere and about approaches to terrorism that we might undertake. No questions? Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Hello. Is it easy to swim with this suit if you have to escape by river or sea?
Well, of course, this is just a prototype, but the actual suit will be completely floatable, buoyant, and it's actually able to dive underwater as well to a depth, I think, of 30 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder how much it costs.
Well, as I mentioned, the initial price tag, because they will be developed, you know, as a research and development initiative of certain companies, will be very high. However, there will be subsidies as soon as it becomes clear that they're useful, and this is a pattern that we see again and again with drones, with various sorts of military technologies. Initially, the price tag is enormous, and as governments and publics see that they are useful and that they work in the field, government becomes involved, subsidies kick in, and the price tag goes down considerably. Also, these much cheaper. You know, we're considering the use of very fancy plastic alloy skins and all sorts of padding. There may be ways to either cut corners or find new materials that are much less expensive than the ones we're considering. Yes, there's two questions in the back.
In Deutschland hatten wir Probleme mit Männern, die Frauen betatscht haben. Wäre das eine Lösung? In Germany, in Cologne, we had problems with men touching women. Is this a solution for these problems?
I think that would be like, you know, throwing a nuclear bomb at a village to obliterate it. I think there are probably other solutions to that problem. This is really a problem if, you know, the men touching the women are terrorists with explosives attached to them. I think there might be easier solutions to the problem you're suggesting. It's a funny idea, though. Yes?
Thank you. It's very interesting, but I have a very concrete question. I think the size does not allow entrance in elevators. So should we rather have a bombing that the building collapses so then we can roll down? Or what do we do if the terrorist decides to put up fire or something that we would require to go down the stairs or enter an elevator or enter a car?
They actually are able to enter elevators. I mean, this one, of course, is merely a prototype. It's squashable, so it definitely can enter an elevator. But the ultimate design is also squashable to a degree. It's flexible and can actually change shape depending on the environment. So it can't get in a very tight space, but it can get in a medium-sized elevator.
I'm buying it then.
All right, well. Yes?
I have a question. Is it possible? Sorry, so
it's
someone
okay.
was asking.
First, whoever's speaking, wherever they're speaking, I can't. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
I'm here. I want to know if that's easy to run with that. If we can have a demonstration that because yeah.
Yes, the actual when we build a working prototype, it will be easy to run with it. It is it has its own propellant, so it's not only foot powered. It is foot powered, but it's got a sort of rigid exoskeleton attached to a mechanical exoskeleton that permits. It's very heavy, of course, but the mechanical exoskeleton allows running, so it augments the user's muscle power to permit actual mobility, which is nearly as easy as simply walking. Yes?
Planen Sie diese Schutzanzüge auch für Tiere zu bauen, um die 65 Millionen Nutztiere, die jedes Jahr geschlachtet werden, vor den terroristischen Anschlägen des Menschen zu schützen? Das wäre ja auch ein riesengroßer Markt.
Is there a translation?
Are you planning to produce such suits also for the animals, to protect the animals against the terrorist attacks from humans? By the sense that we are killing about 65 million animals per year, which are slaughtered for the human, for the consumption.
Thank you for your opinion, but no, we're not.
Hello. Is it possible to integrate some extensions like firearms or smart cameras?
Yes, these are actually, they include a lot of technology within them. There are no plans currently to include firearms. They're defensive technologies, but certainly if the users wanted to, they could customize them. There are approximately 18 separate ports that can be adapted for any purpose. Yes, somebody, one of you, yes. As I mentioned, they have complete effluent recycling, so it's actually possible to recycle urine quite easily. And I don't know if you know, but Singapore actually does that. So that technology is old. Of course, NASA astronauts have been doing that since 1969 or before, so that is not a problem. Feces is a different matter. It has to be burnt, but there's a little incinerator within that can do that as well.
So you don't have to take it off to do that?
No, you wouldn't be able to. Yeah.
There's something to protect the head. Is there something to protect the head?
The head? Yes, I'm sorry. This is, of course, just a prototype that you're looking at. Again, it's a piece of fabric. But yes, there will be a glass cover for the head. The entire person is fully protected.
Here, a question. Here, just
Where?
here.
Oh, yeah.
We have to wear it all the time.
Well, that's
even
up
at
to
home, because for human reproduction, it's...
Yeah. No, that's up to the user. It's your decision when you feel threatened,
okay.
When you consider that there, sometimes there may be a reason to feel more nervous than other times. If you feel safe at home, of course you take it off. I mean, this is simply for getting around in the city. And again, it depends on your own level of fear and concern. Yes.
Sorry, because I'm really thinking of funding this project. Can we also add digital recognition? Because I see the arms do not come down, and we need to make sure that we can be properly identified if we go to a bank or whatever. Digital or biometric recognition of the person inside their protecting ball.
Of course. No, there's iris recognition is fully possible. It's a completely transparent visor, of course, and you have there's as well the technology that permits smartphones to identify themselves securely. That is fully, it's fully Bluetooth capable currently, and by the time it goes into production, there may be a completely different communication technology, and it will implement that as well. Yep.
So if you say that entrepreneurship makes it widely available, how do you foresee that terrorists won't buy themselves also these prototypes?
They're welcome to buy them. It won't help them to carry out attacks. It's purely defensive. It has no capacity for actually carrying out attacks, so far as we know. Also, the number of users we expect to be in the thousands, even after a few years. So that's easy enough to vet which users, users that purchase them. There will be full background checks, much as there are for weapons, even though it's not offensive. It's purely defensive technology. Yes.
Kann uns dieses Ding irgendwie in der Flüchtlingskrise helfen? Das ist gerade das Thema in Europa. Can this thing help us in the refugee crisis in Europe?
It's not really meant to help with the refugee crisis. I'm not sure how it might. I mean, unless you fear refugees, if you fear them, however, there's been no proof that any of the terrorists have been refugees. So I don't think that, no, it's really against attacks of the sort that we saw in Paris, and that sort of thing. The kind of terrorist attacks that currently, again, where France is carrying, and many nations are carrying out attacks in Syria, that sort of thing. It replaces technologies that have been shown not to work against actual terrorism. So military attacks, defense, surveillance, policing, etc. This is the next generation of those sorts of technologies, and it has a very limited target. Strictly, not really to do with refugees. Yeah, in the back.
Is it possible to have it in different colors?
Sure. That's something we hadn't thought of, but of course, if if they become, if it gets to the point where people enjoy wearing them and want to make a fashion statement and are wearing them enough to need to identify them, to have a sort of identity within them, then absolutely they will be produced not only in different colors but with different designs. You can see there's a lot of surface area there. There's I can't calculate it offhand, but with that much surface area, you could even hire a mural artist to decorate it. Whatever strikes your fancy, fully customizable. Yes?
I have children, and I wonder how does it work for the children? Or can I take them with me in my thing?
No, they will come in many sizes, from 3 feet large to 7 feet. So
yes, but if my children are small, I don't want to leave them alone in that suit. Maybe I want to take them. There is no for more than one people.
You know, that isn't something we had thought of, but yes, there will be. There could be a space for children, or you could carry them. There are areas in there that are not occupied by machinery, and we could customize a small space for small children. They would have to be very small, one at a time, I think. So. Yes, maybe 2 more questions.
Thank you. This is very exciting. I have one fear. Don't you think that there could be a risk of a kind of turtle on the back effect, so that the person wearing the suit would fall down and risk not being able to get up again?
Very good question. There are a number of gyroscopes within, as well as propulsion mechanisms. So it's like one of the Segways or the other new devices that have recently come to market. They include automatic self-adjustment, which enables you really to tiptoe around almost like a ballerina. There's going to be a kind of, as I mentioned, a mechanical exoskeleton that assists the natural muscle action of the legs and permits you to balance and get along as you want. So there is no danger of loss of control, unless, of course, all the power systems go out, but that will not happen. There's redundant power. Terrific. Well, if there's no more questions, we will adjourn. My email is at the bottom. You can contact us and ask us further questions if any arise. You can, inquire about production. If you're with a company that is interested in production, we're very interested in talking with you. We are talking currently with 2 companies that have the capacity to produce them, that are interested, but we're very interested in partnering with any others.
Can I ask you a question, please? Can I ask you a last question?
Sure. Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, why you are proposing models only for the rich people? What is going to happen with the poor people? Why poor people have to die because of terrorist attacks, and you are only protecting rich people? Why? This is not fair,
I think you didn't quite understand. Initially, the production will occur thanks to an enormous investment of capital in research, in development, and it's not just the assembly of these devices, but it's the full history of the alloy outer shells and the padding and the systems within. So there's a tremendous amount of private enterprise that has gone into them that has to be reflected in the initial cost of the first prototypes, which will be available for citizens, and it will be immensely expensive by normal standards. However, as I mentioned, as with, this was the same situation you have with any technology, any military technology. For example, drones. Initially, the cost is very, very high, if you'll recall, very few years ago. But once they were proven to work and enable safer attacks, in the case of drones, the price went down substantially as governments entered with their subsidies. So this we fully expect this to be a similar situation, where as soon as they prove themselves, as soon as it's clear these do protect citizens, Governments will enter with subsidies and the price will go down dramatically. And also, as with drones, there are currently consumer drones available, thanks to the work of entrepreneurs and the free market. It's fantastic. There's lots of, you can buy them for a few $100s now. So it could get to that point with these as demand increases, as the natural market mechanisms kick in. That we imagine will be several years down the line. So it's a matter of time before it becomes truly democratic.
So you are telling me that in the beginning, poor people will die, but then after some years, probably they will be saved also.
I mean, I think that's a very brutal way of saying it, but I mean, I think at the beginning, you know, I mean, if you look at the statistics, it isn't a large percentage of the population that dies. You know, you have equivalent death figures from all sorts of other causes than terrorist attacks. So I don't think, you know, it's an enormous risk. But, you know, I mean, it's already the case that people with substantial means can protect themselves against all sorts of problems much better than people without substantial means, whether that be in the realm of health or housing, you know, weather protection, where they live, as you know. So it's not a special case. We believe we have a plan that will bring this to the largest number in the fastest way once we find the proper avenues and the proper partners for the development of it. Terrific. So again, thank you very much for coming. My email is at the bottom. Our website is that website, globalsecurityresponse.com, and we're very happy to talk to any interested partners and move forward into a world that is increasingly dangerous, but needn't be necessarily. Thank you.